Deportivo La Coruna stands at a crossroads. Our talisman in Season 3 is on the brink of deserting us, with Saudi clubs circling like sharks. Meanwhile, a brewing mutiny threatens to unravel our hard-earned progress as players demand higher wages. Can we navigate these turbulent waters and keep our dreams of Champions League qualification alive? This is Season 4, filled with all the usual drama, dreams, and even new side quests. Firstly, to right previous wrongs in the Copa del Rey, and then to make our mark in Europe. Will we rise to the challenge, or will the pressure prove to be too much? Will losing our best players be too great an obstacle, or will new heroes come forth to replace them? Buckle up and let's find out.
Once we stood among the giants, under floodlights shining bright, blue and white, hearts ignited, super Depor full of fight.
But the waves came crashing down, years of struggle lost and found, yet in our veins the fire remains. We will rise again.
Volveremos, nunca caemos, el Depor sigue en mi corazón. Lucharemos, ganaremos, super Depor campeón.
Coming into the new season, the goal was clear. Take at least one more massive step forward. We had to if we wanted to try and win the league in 5 seasons, as was the goal from the very start. For now, top 4 was the immediate target, and we had to be better against the big 2. We had done well so far building for the future, and to that end the board agreed to build a new stadium. Of course, it meant that we would loan a massive 176 million to finance the project, and we would get only 7.5 for selling the Riazor. Regardless, it was a positive way for us to start the season. But before a ball was even kicked, we had a crisis. Our star players Mario Soriano, Charlie Patino, and last season's hero David Strelec wanted new contracts. Fair enough, they deserved it, except they were asking for wages that could fund a small country. That's an increase from 4, 6 and 12,000 to basically 30, 40 and 50. But you see, we weren't just being tight, we literally could not afford this long term. Just those 3 renewals would increase our wage spend by almost 50%. And we had to ensure that as we grew, we did so sustainably, and breaking the wage structure right now would undo a lot of great work that we've done thus far. Now, there were others complaining too. Daniel Gonzalez was keen on a move away to Saudi Arabia. Delayu and Hegerheim wanted more game time, and Daga, Barsi and Roning wanted better deals as well. The club atmosphere and managerial support had dipped to an all-time low, despite all the recent success. But thankfully, most of these players were on long enough contracts for me to hold them hostage. Of course, as it is in Spain, they had release clauses, and so we had to prepare for the inevitable loss of some of them. So, as we always do, we started with more youth. 4 young Spaniards all in for free to bolster the ranks for years to come. Then some more youth, but this time with real quality to perform in the first team already. Enter Steve Keane, an English midfielder with an insane ceiling, for free from Chelsea. It was almost certain that Charlie Patino would leave at some point. He had a release clause of just 6.75 million, and the only way we could renegotiate that was by giving in to his ridiculous wage demands. Definitely not happening. Now, Keane was better suited to the anchor role than as a segundo volante, so we would facilitate the move by swapping Daniel Daga's role. And for the most part, this would suit all parties. But we also had another new option. I took a trip back home and found the talented Sandile Maseti. It was no coincidence that his head looked like a football. He was made for this. I could see a future captain here. He was comfortable enough on the ball that he could slot into midfield, maybe even ahead of Keane for the short term. But he was also the perfect replacement for Daniel Gonzalez if he left as well. Crazily, Sundowns had let him join us for just 500,000, and already he was worth a whole lot more. Now, the next move had to be for someone that could provide insurance for the Barsi and Soriano situations. Enter Serbian wonder kid Almir Hadžić. He was lightning quick, skillful, and a perfectionist. Another nightmare evaded. Now surely you remember that Tim Roning had just recently come in, so it wouldn't be wise to get rid so early. But he wasn't nearly good enough to warrant tolerating his moaning Roning. So when the opportunity opened up, we made the smashing transfer of Joan Garcia from Espanyol for a potential 5 million. This was perhaps our best signing so far. Joan was perfect for us. A ridiculously good keeper with a great personality, still young enough to improve but old enough to support our youngsters. If we eventually got rid of moaning Roning, we'd look elsewhere for backup, but for now, goalkeeper wasn't just sorted, we had significantly upgraded. Then, as part of our youth development project, we sent Pablo Lopez, Enzo Romano and Cardozo Varela out on loan. We reinforced our squad culture and mentoring with Simon Kerr and Sergei Krivtsov to come in and be role models. They were sort of player coaches that wouldn't actually really play, but you get the point. And all that left was the one major move that we still had to make: finding a replacement for David Strelec. Sure, there were options, some even slightly better than Strelec, but they too demanded really high wages. And so, on principle, we opted out of these deals, and instead, I took a bit of a punt on a young Brazilian wonder kid. But he could only arrive in December, so you'll meet him later. And so for now, let's get to the football. For a change, pre-season went okay. Sure, we conceded a truckload to Crystal Palace, but then we were decent versus Osasuna, Foggia and Lyon. Then we kicked off our league season in positive fashion. A 1-0 win at Alaves. David Strelec with a 64th minute winner. As he ended last season, he started this one. A subtle reminder that I may be forced to give in to his demands. Even more so when he followed that up with a smashing performance in our 4-1 demolition of Real Sociedad in our first home game of the season. Strelec bagged 2 here, yet again proving how vital he was to our success. Then we shifted focus to our first European challenge, TSV Hartberg in the Conference League qualifiers. Now this was step 1 of one of our side quests. We would try to go as far as we could in the competition. The board expected us to at the very least reach the knockout stages, but of course, we were expecting even more. Now TSV were no pushovers, but they weren't that great either, so I rotated heavily, but still expected a good result. And we got just that. 3-1 away from home and 2 goals from new boy Sandile Massetti playing in midfield. Confidence was sky high with this incredible start to the season. We were 3rd in the league and had 1 foot in the Conference League proper. But then came the first reality check. We were back at the Bernabeu. We hoped we would be better against this lot this season. We had partially broken our curse against the big 2, but Madrid had always battered us, and yet again they reminded us that we were still a work in progress. Randall Colomuani got them off to a flyer in the 3rd minute before his French compatriot Aurélien Tchouameni doubled their lead just over 10 minutes later. Tchouameni then got sent off in the 33rd, giving us hope of getting back in the game. And we did. Yet again, David Strelec found the back of the net, in with a chance. But despite our man advantage, Madrid were just too good. And eventually they grabbed a 3rd courtesy of Colomuani at the double. A first defeat of the season, but not one that would destroy our hope. In fact, we even lost the next game, a return leg to TSV Hartberg, again with a heavily rotated side. We had still done enough though to qualify for the league stage of that UEFA Conference League. A home win versus Almeria followed, and then our first encounter with our friendly, annoying foe, Elche. After 4 pretty poor performances against them, we pulled it back last season doing the league double. But now it was time to take the next step. We needed to smash them. 5 minutes in and Daniel Gonzalez got us off to a flyer. A lovely place finish from range that looked like a sign of things to come. Then in just the 20th, Loic Williams got up to nod in at the near post. For once, the lads understood the assignment. Joaquin Correa pulled one back in the 24th. But we were baying for blood. Soriano made it 3 in the 44th, forcing the opposition manager to tear up the speech he prepared for half-time. But then, Go made it 4-1 in the first minute of added time. Now, Luis Miguel Ramis had completely lost his voice. 4-1 up at half-time, dominant, thoroughly entertaining, and we were doing exactly what we needed to, putting Elche to the sword. Naturally, Elche came out with a bit more fight in the second half, coming close pretty early. And truth be told, we expected no less, for as long as we can remember, they've been a pest. But here's the thing, flies are meant to be swatted. And in the 56th minute, we went 5-1 up, courtesy of a second from Daniel Gonzalez. The away end was ecstatic. We had rocked up to the Martinez Valero and stomped all over Elche. We were 5-1 up. I repeat, 5 goals to 1. And then, well, our defense clocked out like it was Friday at 4:59 p.m. Elche. Yes, Elche again stuck to us like a rash. They decided they weren't done. 61st minute, slotted. 5-2. Okay, fair. A lovely finish from Elena, but surely just for pride. A consolation goal, right? 83rd minute, 5-3. Okay, still fine. A little concerning. 87th minute, Korea again, 5-4. Panic mode. What started as a drubbing had turned into absolute chaos. We were 5-1 up and now we were holding on for dear life. And so now we would try to do exactly that. Hold on for dear life. Of course, neutrals were thrilled. The fans were on the edge of their seats. And me, I was googling stress relief techniques. But somehow, just barely, we held on. Phew. 3 points and just another relaxing day at the helm of Deportivo La Coruna. So finally a moment to take a breath, and just a moment it was, because next up was the Gallego derby against Celta Vigo, our actual rivals, not these pests Elche. But this was quite the opposite, not nearly as entertaining. A 1-1 draw, honours even, but Strelec with another one in the bag, continuing his fine start to the season. But then, disaster struck. While on international duty, Strelec pulled his hamstring. 4 weeks out. Just as we were gaining momentum, our main man was gone. And with clubs circling, we knew this might be the beginning of the end for him at Deportivo. With that, we would have to rely on Salvakas, at least for now. And as fate would have it, the kid grabbed the chance with both hands. Incredibly, we picked up 3 wins in the Conference League, with Vaca stepping up and scoring 5 goals in those games. But unfortunately, our league form suffered, with just 5 points from the next 5 games. We'd slipped all the way down to 8th, some distance from our lofty targets. And of course, now, it was winter, meaning that the curse would probably return. First up, Valencia, the team that we pipped to 7th place, and this would be a potential revenge match. There was something in the air though. A bit of madness. Every now and then, football writes a script that not even the wildest Hollywood screenwriter could imagine. And this was one of those games. The boys were well aware of the winter woes, and so we were up for it. And we couldn't have asked for a better start. 2nd minute, Loic Williams rises highest and powers home the opener. 1-0, Riazor erupts. But like clockwork, reality sets in. 10th minute, Andre Almeida, who clearly didn't get the script, makes it 1-1. The crowd had barely sat down. Then, just 8 minutes later, Nikita Yosifov decided to remind us that he is that guy. He buries it. 2-1, back in front. With how crazy this game had been at the start, we hung onto the lead with our fingernails, hoping to reach half-time. But fate had other ideas. 39th minute, corner to Valencia. Whooped in, and Mosquera is flattened by Massetti in the box. Penalty given. Pepelu steps up, and from the spot, he slots bottom left 2-2, just like that. Half-time and breathe. Just barely. This was turning into something of a classic. Fun fact, we'd led twice and still somehow we felt like underdogs going into the break. This one would clearly be decided by whoever wanted it more. And just 2 minutes into the second half, Almeida again arrives late, slots it in, 2-3. Valencia take the lead for the first time. The haters said we had no midfield. Maybe they were right. It ebbed, it flowed, and then came goal. A gift from the football gods. Or maybe just physics. Go Young-jun smashes a free kick and rattles off the crossbar, but it falls to Loic Williams. Like a true opportunist, he finds an empty net and taps home the rebound. 3-3, he's second off the match. This was pure madness. We had led, scores went level. We nipped ahead and they came back. Then they led and now we came back. And surely with more than half an hour to play, a lot more would come. Chance after chance, no pois. They punched, we countered. We hooked, they dodged. But then, in the 80th minute, a flicker of hope. A reverse pass from Hadjic. Inch perfect. That man's Shrelek, back from injury, fit and firing, with a perfectly timed run. Cool as you like, slot. 4-3, we take the lead again, the Riazor explodes. Surely this is it. This was a titanic clash, end-to-end stuff for pretty much the whole thing. And now, with an 80th minute lead, we surely had enough fight in us to hold them off. But this is Deportivo. We do nothing the easy way. 89th minute, Andre Almeida arrives late again, hat-trick, 4-4, and 2 points down the drain. We had barely any time to respond yet again. Now, 6 minutes added on, 6. Just enough time to ruin everything, or to write history. And it would go down to the very end. A big, booming Valencia goal kick, and we win it. We move the ball flawlessly, quickly, and get it out wide. Whooped in, and Shrelek can't get his head to it, and off it, a counter. Now it finds its way to Almeida. That guy. He had punished us 3 times before, and now he surges down our left flank. But Sorensen, composed, clinical, he wins it. And in turn, like it had been all game long, punch after punch, counter after counter, we go one more time. We break. Ball to Barsi. He whoops in a low cross. Shrelek darts to the near post. Guillamon gets a toe to it. But wait! 2 yards out, goalkeeper stranded, net, wide, open. It falls to Charlie Patino. Charlie Patino wins it in the 95th minute. Absolute limbs. The Riazor is shaking. What a game. What a moment. 9 goals, 3 lead changes, 1 last second winner. And the crowd, they witnessed a modern day epic. This game, this was Deportivo drama at its finest. And it turns out, Charlie Patino might just have main character energy after all. This screamed of one last hurrah, one big final plea to get a new contract. And maybe, just maybe, he actually deserved it. To pop up with the winner in an absolute epic. Valencia never backed down, but we were on a mission. 3 points in the bag, and today, we were successful. But it was a casualty. Go Young-jun pulled his calf and would miss at least the next 3 weeks. Not great, but in light of his recent performances, this would allow for Vakas to get more game time, either up top or in the cam. And despite losing our chief creator, we actually kept firing. In an amazing turn of winter fortunes, we went on to win 8 of our next 9, with a solitary draw away at Villarreal. For the first time since I took over, it was Winter Wonderland. We'd even gotten past the first round of the Copa del Rey this time, our other side quest. A solid cup run which far exceeded the board's expectations of just being competitive. Everything was absolutely perfect. And now, in a spirit of festive cheer with the winter window open, let's meet some new players. First, the amuse-bouche, James Youssef, a name that is religiously ambiguous, fitting for a player with dual citizenship from Belgium and Nigeria. He looked like a Rasta, blessed with the balance that came from his Aital diet. He was a wonder kid and a driven one at that. He would become an important cog in this team, and we had beat Man United to his signature, and that too for just 250,000. Then came the kid that I told you about earlier, Patrick, a young Brazilian striker from Sao Paulo, physically gifted, mentally superb, and technically astute. Patrick was our biggest signing yet, and he cost us a packet, £15 million. But on the plus side, his wage was about a half of what Shrelek demanded, and as expensive as he was immediately worth more. Now the thing is, Patrick was young, and so the question was always going to be, could he fill those enormous shoes left behind by a man who was tied for the Golden Boot last season? Unfortunately, we weren't even afforded a second to think about it, because by January, our worst fears began to materialize. We took on Barcelona, and lost 2-0 with strikes from Jonathan David and Pablo Torre. Shrelek couldn't get it going at all, and soon after the match, we found out that was his goodbye. On the very same day, just hours later, Altai paid his release clause and David Strelec was sold. 21.5 million. Our talisman had abandoned us. Then, less than a week later, and Charlie Patino was gone too. I convinced myself that I would maintain a strict structure here and not give in to their demands, but the Patino transfer slapped differently. He had been with us from the very start. I clearly remember being excited by the prospect of turning him into a great defensive midfielder, and boy, he did not disappoint. But with Al Ain paying his 6.75 million release clause, it was time for a fresh start, albeit in the middle of a season that was going splendidly. It leaves a bit of a sour taste. He was one of our own, not in the traditional sense, but surely you get me right. No time for sulking, we must move on. And despite the Barca loss, we were third in the league. We had won all 6 of our Conference League games with 18 scored and just 4 conceded, and we were still in the Copa del Rey. That meant that we were on course for all of our targets, for now at least. But will we be able to maintain that form, retain our position in the top 4, progress in the knockouts of the Conference League, and even go on that deep cup run, now that we had lost 2 of our best players? Will Patrick rise to meet the lofty expectations of our fans despite his tender age? Or will it all come crumbling down because of my stubborn nature and unwillingness to do this in any way but my own? We've got a host of new problems and so much to fight for next time on Once Again Deportivo.
We signed you young with a baby face grin. Didn't know back then you'd become locked in. Weren't born in Coruna, but it sure felt right. Like a pint at the resort under Friday night lights. We made fake photos, called you our son. Said you were local, just with less sun. But deep in the chaos, through highs and the pain, you gave us belief again and again. Oh Charlie, you ran like the wind through the noise, with a heart that could silence the crowd's doubts and voice. And now that you're leaving, it's hard not to see you weren't just a player, you were family. You ghosted through tackles, played passes with grace, scored goals with that quiet fire on your face. From bottom of midfield to the top of our hearts, you stitched this revival with beautiful parts. So here's to the boy with a future so wide, who danced in our colors with so much pride. May the pitch ahead be golden and free. You'll always be Deportivo, even if just briefly.